I've got the Panda 4x4 up on jack stands. I have access to both the front and the rear drop links and suspension. So I've just lubricated with some penetrating fluid both the front and rear drop link bolts because I suspect they have been on there forever. Now it's on to removing the drop links, and on the Panda 4x4 there is a rear anti-roll bar, and the drop links are on the inside of the trailing arm of the spring over there. That is the top bolt, and then the lower bolt is down there. So I'm going to pop those two off now and replace it with a new one, and then likewise with the front. The drop links are here, so it should be a 14mm top and bottom to remove that. And there is enough flex in the anti-roll bar or the sway bar to push it up to align these holes. If you struggle with that, you can just use a crowbar to lever it on the wishbone down there, and then you can replace it. So this is the lower bolt for the anti-roll bar. Now I've sprayed these with some WD-40 penetrating fluid. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shock these. Yeah, 17 fits. Yeah, that's a problem with these ball joint type things, is that when they wear out, the joint just rotates freely inside this socket, and then you can't get the nut off. Now, many of them do have a recessed Allen over here for you to put an Allen key into to hold it in place, and then you have to use a ring spanner. I'll give that a try, see if I can get an Allen in there, and then get a ratchet ring spanner on there and try and loosen this. So that one fits, but like I said, it's quite rusted inside that little sunken Allen head. Problem is that it's gonna either round off inside there or round off my Allen head. Right, so that's working. Right, so I'm gonna get some vice grips now and clamp this ball joint. Right, let's try the bigger vice grips. The bottom line of this is that you're never only going to need a 17mm spanner. You're going to need a host of 17mm options and a wrench, a vice grip like this, to clamp that threaded shaft. Finally, almost there. There we go. There we go. It is finally off. So you can see how the vice grip is used to clamp onto the shaft there. So you can see here how I've clamped the ball joint shaft over there with the vice grips to stop it from rotating. Now with the lower bolt released, you can see that the anti-roll bar has actually come up a bit, given me a little bit more space to get to that top bolt. It is still not enough room to get an impact wrench in there, so it's going to be another bit of a slog. I've soaked that with some more WD-40. I'm just going to have to tackle it again manually with my host of tools. It's never just one tool. It's usually always a bunch of them. These things are tight. Oh, it's loose. Oh, it is coming off. Got the 17mm ring ratchet spanner, which looks like that. It's got a flexible head, which is sometimes useful, but mostly annoying. Almost there. All right. There we go. It is off. Time for the fronts. So I've already lubricated those ends. I suppose what I should have done was clean the threads before I did that. But anyway, here we go. Just going to use a wire brush for that. Shock these. So these are 17mm. What I found in the Fiat 500 was that the factory Fiat stuff was a 14mm bolt and the aftermarket stuff was 17mm. This is definitely 17. I have to resort to the vice grip to clamp it. There we go. Hopefully I'll stop it from rotating. Okay, let's give this a quick go. Okay, let's get this bottom bolt off. Golly. Right. Almost there now. Yes. There we go. It is off. Let's do it the intelligent way. There we go. Okay, I've got my new drop link sealed in its bag. And yeah, it's long, man. Right, so what are we dealing with? Are we dealing with 17mm nuts? Yes, we are. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copiously lubricate these threads with copper slip. So I have my copper slip and I have an old toothbrush which I use to apply it so I don't get it all over my gloves. I'm just going to put a whack of this on here and in there, just to make it easier to remove in future. Going to need the breaker bar in here to lever this down. I have got grease all over my gloves anyway. Get another nut on there before this thing springs up. Yeah, that is definitely turning. Now there is a little kind of catch at the back on these that you can use a tool on. Also seems to be a 17mm. So unfortunately these threads on this top ball joint on this drop link have stripped. And it's rather disappointing because it wasn't even tightened up and the nut stripped those threads, which is really, really odd. Now, no, they weren't damaged by putting them through there because this is the one that I put in first. So the other one at the bottom is perfect, and then this one has taken over an hour to get the nut off because the threads were stripped. But I've been able to shoot down to a local car parts place and pick up a new one that was just under £12. So I'm gonna have to remove this. Thankfully it's all lubed up, and then I can get that one on and get onto the rear one. And yes, it has been raining, so yeah, let's crack on. So I've got myself a new drop link to replace the other new drop link that's stripped with some copper slip. That nut screwed on the whole way without me having to use the Allen bolt. Grab my very, very helpful electric wrench and the job is done. Taking them off after they've rusted on there is another matter, but there you go. Front drop link done. Now for the rear drop link, I'm going to start with the top bolt because there's not a lot of room to get into that nut if this is attached to the bottom. lube that with copper slip on both of those threads. Put on the nylock nut. Grab my electric wrench with a 17mm socket. Right, so that's tightened all the way up. Then what I need to do is I need to pull this down. There's the lower hole over there. I need to push this down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my breaker bar again. Get that in there like that. Right, push it through as far as possible. Put on the nylock nut. Lactose preventing electric wrench. Grab a big wrench with more leverage. Make sure that's tight. There we go. Rear drop link done.